Are you breaking the law? Hello, my name is Eric. I am a physical therapist. I work with active seniors, and I wanted to talk to you about a law today, and you just may be guilty of breaking this. What got me started on this, I was at the park the other day. I had just taken my dogs for a walk. I have 4 dogs, and I had loaded them back in the car. I was driving through the park, and I had not buckled my seatbelt yet, and you know what happened next. Sure enough, I was pulled over, and $150 later, I learned all about the seatbelt law. I have to buckle in first thing when I get in the car. Lesson learned, but as I drove home, I just started thinking, and as an active senior, there's a law that is, I think, just as important as the seatbelt law. It can have that much of an impact on your life, especially if you're an active senior who has a goal of having a lot of quality and independence into the later years. Then this law is very, very important for you. It's called the law of specificity. And what it states is that if we have a goal, if we want to get better at something, if we want to get better at an activity, then we should practice those specific skills that comprise that activity. For example, if you want to be a better tennis player, say you want to be a better tennis player, and you have 3 hours a week you can devote to exercise. And those 3 hours, the majority of it should be on the tennis court then, practicing skills related to the game of tennis. That's the law of specificity. Those 3 hours should not be spent on an exercise bike or yoga or lifting weights or walking. No, the majority of that time should be spent on the tennis court. That's what's going to help you get better at tennis and help you reach your goal of being a better tennis player. Now let's relate that to an active senior, as I spoke of earlier, who has the goal of quality of life, of independence, of living life on their terms in their later years. According to the law of specificity, again, we should be practicing those skills that comprise that. And what are those skills? They are 7 foundational movements. 7 foundational movements: squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, locomotion, hinging, and rotation. 7. I call them the Magnificent 7. These foundational movements make up all of the activities that we do on a daily basis. Everything, if that's getting out of bed, getting dressed, getting into the shower, taking your dogs for a walk, going to the park, shopping, vacuuming, golf, tennis, whatever you're doing, you are at least doing one of the 7 foundational movements, one of the Magnificent 7, if not 3, 4, maybe even 7, you're doing all at once. What happens though is as we get older, age hits us, right? We can get weaker, we can lose power, we can lose muscle mass. So these foundational movements start to suffer. They start to deplete. We start to lose the ability to do these. And when that happens, again, those activities that we may take for granted now, going upstairs, stepping over a curb, getting up out of a chair, dressing, showering, those start to suffer because we're no longer as efficient. We're no longer as effective at these 7 movement patterns, the Magnificent 7. So according to the law of specificity, if we want quality of life, if we want independence into our later years, then we have to really practice these Magnificent 7. We have to devote our exercise time, the majority of it, into these Magnificent 7, because these 7 are our lifeline into our later years. So what's the application? What does this look like on a daily basis? Again, just think of the 7. Think of those 7. Squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, hinging, rotating, locomotion. Our exercises should comprise at least one, if not all 7 of these movement patterns. So if you're riding a stationary bike for the majority of your exercise each week, It does not include these 7. If you're walking, you have locomotion. But again, we want to try to hit all 7 as consistently as possible. Bicep curls, it has benefit, but it's not incorporated into the Magnificent 7. Calf raises, getting up and down, again, does not include one of these 7 movement patterns. Let me give you an example. This little pattern, if you do not have any pain or contraindications to exercise, you can start doing this today. And this little pattern includes all 7 of those foundational movements. So you just need a little open area. And here's number 1. We're going to hinge our hips. 1, then we're going to squat. Stay within your limitations. So I hinged, I squatted. There's 2. Here's a little locomotion. 3, I'm going to crawl out in front of me. Here's a little pull. Number 4, pull on both sides. Little push up, a push. Number 5, I'm going to push back to my knees. Place one foot out in front of me. I'm going to lunge. Number 6. And at the bottom of my lunge, I'm going to throw a little rotation in. Number 7. You can alternate, lunge, and rotate. So right there, in a matter of 10, 15 seconds, I just was able to participate, to try an exercise that included all 7 of those foundational movements. So that's the gist of this message. Be a little creative. Whatever exercise you're doing, try to incorporate one of these 7 into them. Again, pushing, pulling, squatting, lunging, rotating, hinging, and locomotion. If you can include all 7 into one exercise, great. But if you can even do 1, 2, or 3, include those. But just remember the law of specificity. Practice the skills, those exact skills that comprise your goal, that comprise the activity you want to be able to do. If you keep that in the back of your mind when you're exercising, it can make such a difference as you get older and older. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Again, my name is Eric, physical therapist. I work with active seniors. If you have questions, I'll leave my information below. Practice the Magnificent 7. Remember the law of specificity and wear your seatbelt. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.